Hey there, everybody. John Gubbs of Dakota Grappler coming to you live 2 days before Christmas. It is December 23rd here in 2020. Take a deep breath. The year's almost over, people. It's been a crazy year. And again, our guest tonight is either delayed or has had something come up. So we are just going to play it by ear. Bill, Holtan, and I are going to talk some wrestling tonight. And maybe we'll make it shorter than the 2.5 hours that we went the last time, and an hour and a half the time before that. It's been a little crazy, but you name it. But our special guest was going to be Andy Hrovat, Olympian from 2008. He's going to talk a lot about that, but maybe we can get him on. Hopefully it pops in later, or maybe he's had technical difficulties. We'll find out. If not, of course, Bill and I can talk a lot of wrestling. Again, off to my side here, I got to turn my head which way is Bill because it's opposite when I'm doing this. Bill's off to my left, but on my right kind of type thing. And he's in cold weather. We actually got a little bit of snow. I haven't seen snow until last night. It's windy and blowing here. And so weather's same up there, Bill?
Yeah, it's cold. It's like 2 below now, I think. So winter's kind of settled in. It was in the 40s yesterday. I middle of the day, I thought, gosh, I have to sneak off and go get around the golf in or do some bird hunting or something, but I never did get it done yesterday. And then now today, old man winter has got here. So we surely can't complain. It's December 23rd and we really haven't had any winter yet. So it's been pretty dang awesome. So.
Well, I don't mind. It's about 2 months shorter because I've been in October many, many times shoveling snow. I don't miss that. Don't miss that at all. Well, let's first talk some local wrestling, and then we'll go from there. We're on our Christmas break for most of us. Now, some schools will wrestle over the break. Some matches went on last night in Class A and in Class B. We could talk about that and basically look toward the future here. And I'm not sure exactly how they're going to handle all the main tournaments after Christmas. I'll have to talk to some coaches. Central Cass usually has a big tournament. Of course, Lisbon has their great big tournament. New Salem in the East-West, kind of before state. Because really, when you think about it, we've got 6 weeks. When January hits, we got 6 weeks of wrestling left. That's halfway point. Usually during the Christmas break, we got the Rumble of the Red, but that is not going on. I know South Dakota is having some tournaments. So on that 2nd of January, I think I'm going to be heading down to McCook Central and go down and see that nice tournament that they usually have there. In fact, I got well fed down there. Their parents bring lots of good food. That's one of my favorite things going to a wrestling tournament, and all the deer sausage, and you find a little pheasant, or you do different things in those tournaments. But so what do you know about things happening around your area, Bill?
Well, we go back. I guess we were here last Wednesday, Thursday night, Lisbon and Bishop Ryan came to Carrington, so that was kind of fun. They had a triangular duel there. Lisbon came out on top of both duels. And Carrington got a win over Bishop Ryan, and the Carrington Lisbon duel was pretty competitive. Carrington was open at 2 weights, 113 and heavyweight. I think they have filled. They do have a guy at the heavyweight spot now, but I'm not saying that would have made the difference in that duel. Lisbon looked pretty good, but it was a 12-point duel. I mean, it wasn't. It was a competitive duel. There's some real good matchups. It was fun to watch. It was good to see high school wrestling. So that was a good time. And then, Carrington went down to Lemoore for a Lemoore Invitational this weekend. So that was kind of not a real big tournament. I think that's kind of the goal, right? They're looking at having I can't remember what the number is. I think it's something like, 6 people per weight limit. So that doesn't mean you're going to have all 6-man brackets. You might have some 4-man. That's at Lemoore. They had a number of 3-man and 4-man round robins. And they did have a couple 8-man brackets. I'm not 100% sure if they kept team scores or not. Carrington, according to track wrestling, would have won the tournament. But Lisbon just had some JV guys there. Oaks had kind of pulled out at the last minute. Lemoore was there. Hecla, South Dakota. Britain Hecla, I guess I should say.
Sure. Yep.
Edgeley Cullum was there. They looked good. Who else was there? I can't. Lemoore, of course. But it was. I saw some good wrestling. Carrington guys looked pretty good. Some neat matchups. So it was. Once again, I wasn't there. I did get to listen to our good friend Rich Vogelai on the radio, broadcasting it, and then I did go back later. I was able to the Carrington Wrestling Club did have a stream from there, so
sure,
I was able to go back and watch a fair number of the matches. So that was kind of fun. But that's kind of what I've seen around here. We've got some pretty neat duels, and I don't know, I really don't know, even when you're talking about these tournaments, I'm not sure who's going to be going to a tournament like, say, East West or
sure,
or Central Cass or rugby or anywhere else. I think I assume that we'll have a lot of these 4, 5, 6 team tournaments where guys can go in there and get somewhere between 3 and 5 matches in a day, whether it's a round robin or an 8-man bracket. So, but
yeah,
like I said, it's good to see some high school wrestling. I think from what I saw, that little start and then the stutter and stop, affected a number of people. I still think guys are rounding their way into shape. So,
yeah.
Which maybe we'll see all year long. I don't know. It's kind of a weird season. So, like you said, we're not that far away from a state tournament. Thankfully the COVID numbers have really kind of come under control in the state of North Dakota. So I feel pretty confident that our season's kind of going to go forward, but at least what we've thought it was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good thing.
Well, I tell you what, the restrictions have limited me. I was planning on going to several wrestling tournaments, and most of them, honestly, they have the wristband, or if I call in advance. South Dakota was very good getting me in, but North Dakota right now, they're pretty strict. They're letting very few people extra in. I know the other night, a couple parents on our own team, their son lost their vouchers, and losing their vouchers, they couldn't come to the duel. You had to have the vouchers to get in. And I'm going, well, they should know it's you. Well, their son didn't have a match. He's on the JV. And I'm going, well, good thing he didn't, because they're going, what are we going to do?
Yeah.
But again, you guys, if you're out there and you have a live stream you want put out there, make sure you send it my way and I'll get it on the Grappler so you guys can get as many people out there as possible. Other than that, I did get to watch against the Century Mandan duel the other night, and Mandan's young. They had 1 junior and sophomores and a ton of 8th graders on their team. So they've taken a little beating. I'm kind of proud of their team holding together. Tyler Steinwan's doing a good job. Their technique is always good, but guess what? An 8th grader versus a junior senior, it's just not the same at Class A. So they had to face Century and got shut out. Century did put them down 78-0. Then they wrestled Bismarck High last night, which was not going to be any easier by any means. And Bismarck High did lose a match. Mandan did win at heavyweight and got a pin there. So Mandan was not shut out against Bismarck High. But now we haven't had real true rankings for Class A and Class B. We did the coaches poll for that. And so you can still find that over on DakotaGrappler.com. But I started to put together, I sat down last night and started to make a list on basically a spreadsheet of all the wrestlers. But what's interesting here is when you're just watching duels in Class A, you don't get a true feel of where people are at. Because, for an example, my own son's a 160-pounder, and he wrestled at 182 the other night. And he's not going to be in that area. So it's one of those where people shift in duels, different things. So that's probably the hardest media-wise, is trying to make a prediction of where people are at. Even those open rankings that started, I've seen guys at way different weight classes than those. Right. So that's probably the hardest thing. And I know people are really interested in getting rankings. So I said, guess what? I'll probably have to put one together, both Class A and Class B, from the coaches poll. There is some stuff out there. If you go to Rockfin a little bit, we do have another guy out there, Andy Wrestle. It used to be Rick Madden. It's not. But I don't want to steal his stuff, but I'm gonna make some wrestling rankings myself. So if you're interested there, if somebody wants to help out, feel free to contact me. I can definitely swing my information your way too. That's not a problem. So there are rankings. What else do I know? Bismarck High does look good though. I watched the live stream of Bismarck High versus Mandan. Now it's not the greatest of, let's say, comparison to what you could see, but I did see Mandan wrestle against Century also. That's kind of my comparison. And I tell you what, they've got a lot of hammers. I mean, they've got 8 guys I could see probably make the state finals, and that's or maybe even more if it all falls into place. They are tough. In fact, it probably could be nationally ranked, but I'm not sure with COVID this year if that's going to wreck them being a nationally ranked team, because I really feel they could be a top 25 in the nation with a couple guys going D1, several guys, that have the opportunity in the future. LJ Aragio, just a freshman. You're going to see a ton out of him. He's wrestling 32. And for the people out there, he can beat the Tanafus who are going D1 already, and he's just a freshman. So he's wrestling with some of the best caliber guys in the nation every day in the room. He's going to be tough. He's been a natural. He's one, if you guys haven't seen him wrestle, you guys got to pick up and watch him. They do have a ton of other guys they had a state champion as a sophomore, Kringley, who last year was injured from football and all the other things and came back and did place last year pretty high. But he looked really good. He'll probably be about 82 for them. Several other wrestlers. I could go through, them over and over and over again, but we'll talk about that later. I did watch Legacy. Now Legacy Minot was last night. I should almost pull up the results for that so I don't mess something up. I could go kind of from memory. And then if you guys ever want to see results, if you guys don't have an opportunity to do that, you guys can go over to Track Wrestling. That's a lot of times my friend Track Wrestling. And if you have a place to want to watch wrestling, Flow Wrestling, we'll talk about some of that later tonight. The 8-man bracket, we'll talk a little bit about that. At 150 last night, that went real well. But at just a little bit, in fact, from the duel, watching Legacy, I was kind of surprised. They have some really young wrestlers. They have a 7th grader wrestling 113 for them and got a pin last night. I thought that was pretty good. Little Clark Thompson. Watch that match. That Nicholas Ensminger is real tough. These guys all wrestled for Matt Pack and for Shuey for a long time at Bismarck High. Jesse Thompson was up at 120. I kind of expected Jesse maybe at 126 even, but they got that Jacob Bloomhagen at 26. That's very tough and a state placer. For Dickinson, because Legacy won that duel. Got to remember, in the opening rankings of the season for the East and West, it's kind of in the West, they had Dickinson actually number 2 and Century number 3. I tell you what, Legacy's going to put some pressure on. They've got some talent. They actually, that Stugelmeyer, he wrestled 160, Drake and Stugelmeyer. I think he's just a sophomore. He might be a junior. I remember him playing linebacker or something for Legacy this last year. Really good kid. He beat a Cody Booth and Tech Faldham. I expected actually a little bit better match there. Another kid I didn't get to know, but he looked pretty good. Not too bad at 170. What the heck? It was Weston Snyder for Legacy. And then also Ethan Mitchell looked not too bad. They're starting to move. The Mitchell boys, Ethan Mitchell up at 195. I remember him from kid wrestling a long time. But Dickinson, they've got some studs too in some weight classes. That Troy Berg and Tim Cattermas had a great match at 152. If you guys want to go back, Legacy does have their duels on YouTube, and that would be a match to watch. It was a 9-7. That Tim Cattermas will be a very tough wrestler at 152 as the season goes there. And so what else? I think that's about all the wrestling I watched besides the 8-man bracket from last night.
From Saturday, Saturday night,
Friday. Yeah,
Friday.
It's been a little bit, not just last night, but
yeah.
And the movie that came out with Randy Lewis, I still haven't watched it, and
it's fun. I mean, it's we had a little conversation earlier today. We had the Vision Quest was brought up. It's not Vision Quest, but it's a good movie. It's an enjoyable movie to watch. It's not I wouldn't say it's just specifically a wrestling movie, but it's but there's it's got a wrestling theme and wrestling around it. So it did, of course, Randy Lewis, Dan Gable, and Jason Bryant are all in it. So kind of fun. And the wrestling is pretty good, really, which is sometimes not the case when you get into these wrestling movies or TV shows that have wrestling. And the referee in the match at the state finals at the end is an actual referee from I think Michigan or Indiana maybe. So it's good. It's worth renting or buying, whichever way you go. So
well, I want to give a shout out to Jimmy today again, who gets on. He was texting. He said he was a little bored not having his wrestlers around. I thought that I got a kick out of that. I was laughing inside, going, "If he's talking to us, he's pretty bored." No,
yeah, that's right.
But yeah, he was. Texas back and forth. He's got some ideas, some other people to get on, and then so I'm going to be in contact. And I don't want to break the word until I finally get them on, or if they agree to or not. But I could have one of the broadcasters of the year for wrestling maybe on, and then the guy who maybe wrote Vision Quest, the actual guy who wrote the original book and was turned into the movie Vision Quest. My all-time favorite wrestling movie, going back to when I was a kid. I guess I always mention that my, Loudon Swain, I named my first son Loudon because of it. And my shoot was McCormick, with Steve McCormick from St. Mary's. He was the guy that probably going up the bleachers with the log over his shoulders, I don't know. But no, I tell you what, wrestling is still going, and I'm really happy that it is. I was actually really worried at the beginning when we got it going, so like we said, we're going to stay positive and just keep pushing along. I know that South Dakota's numbers for girls wrestling, I did get a count from somebody in South Dakota. Somebody had sent me a text and said that there is probably totally somewhere around 90 to 100 girl wrestlers in the state of South Dakota, and
that's
maybe
awesome.
maybe even more. So if you
great.
But they're trying to get tournaments for them. I was going to talk to our McCook head coach and see if he's going to have a girls division in his tournament or not, and separate that. They do have two different gyms. Now, he did send me that they're not going to have any restrictions at the tournament for fans. So you could bring a lot of fans, except they suggest to bring a mask.
Yeah.
And other than that, their numbers could be really good. So I told them I'd be down there, weather permitting. You never know if weather can change.
Yeah.
Yep. And so let's talk a little bit about the 150-pound 8-man bracket. How about that for just a little bit?
So I know, I'm sure there's people that don't know what's happening there, but Flow Wrestling, this is the second event they've had, and let's just you kind of throw back a little bit. There's been a lot of attempts over the years to try to get some, let's call it professional wrestling, right? A league or events where senior level athletes can go out and make a living wrestling. And there's been a lot of different, a lot of different attempts, and it's never really stuck. I think.
Well, do you remember the real pro wrestling? Remember when they had that for just a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of them. I mean, the AW. I mean, I couldn't even name them. I'm sure there's been a dozen attempts, and a lot of them there'll be one big event, or maybe there'll be two. And it's tough, and part of the reason it's tough is because. So during the wrestling season, all of most of your fan base is going to be high school athletes or that. Well, during the wrestling season, there's no time. I mean, who can take off and go to any? We're all busy wrestling. We're all at tournaments, for 14 hours on a Saturday, and so that's always been. I think that's been a challenge. And this COVID situation actually has been a little bit of a. An opportunity for guys to be able to, Flow Wrestling is done, not just Flow, right? Flow's done a handful of events. Penn State, Nittany Lion Wrestling Club has done, I think, 3 events now. Iowa's done 1 event. Wisconsin's done 2 events. So, they've all been able to, find a way to pay these athletes. So it's been great. It's been great for the senior level athletes. They're getting matches in. So the first thing that Flow did is they had an 8-man bracket, and this is something that they took from the jiu-jitsu world, right? They'll have a lot of these little mini tournaments. They have an 8-man tournament. They wrestle all 3. They start at 8 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock, and they wrestle, and they're done in 2-3 hours, and everybody goes home. Well, they did one at 195 pounds a while back. This time they did it at 150 pounds. So they had eight athletes come in. Everybody gets paid, right? So the minimum you can make is $1,000, but the winner gets paid $25,000. That's not a bad night's work. So, are
they setting themselves up for failure? Or do they go for, let's say, money wise, or do you think the sponsorships and everything is good enough?
Actually, Flo says they're good here. They'll keep doing them. It's now it's the interesting thing is. They're going to run out of time to do them because they've got an event coming up here in a few weeks. The David Taylor, Jordan Burroughs card.
January 9th.
Then really they may be able to get one more event in if they can which would fall during the college season. But you talk about we're 6 weeks away from the state tournament. Mm-hmm. We're only 10 weeks away, 12 weeks away from the Olympic trials.
Oh yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of those guys aren't going to take an event like that, again now, but they're Flo is saying, and Titan Mercury Wrestling Club, really, I should say this, Flo did it in partnership with Titan Mercury. Titan Mercury put the event on. Flo broadcasted was in it. Oh no, I'm not. Forget that. This was all Flo.
Okay,
I got the regional training center, the World RTC Cup. I got those two confused there for a second. Right. But that's kind of the exciting part in the future. If we can get some of these 8-man brackets, maybe you get 4 of them a year, and then you have, say 3 or 4 of these RTC Cup events that can happen throughout the year. I mean, there's a great opportunity to keep guys wrestling in the sport for a long period of time. We've talked about Jordan Burroughs here with Terry Steiner last week, how blessed we've been to watch him wrestle for this many years. Most of the time, guys have had to either start coaching to make a living, or
doing camps,
or working, or go find a job somewhere.
Yep.
Or in the last 10 years, a lot of them have gone to the MMA world. Jordan Burroughs has been able to do nothing. He took an assistant coaching job 1 year and said, that's not for me. And after that, all he's done is wrestle. So between what he's been able to make wrestling and in sponsorships, he's been able to keep going. Well, this is going to continue that for a lot more people, right? You're going to have a lot more guys be able to do it.
Tell me, is there money available out of the United States for wrestlers? Because I know we talked
not much.
Because you think of like women's basketball that don't have an opportunity to go over to Europe and do it. Same with soccer players, same with anything else that way. Baseball players, some of them go to Japan. Wrestling's never had that because we're the only country that competes like we do. The other ones, wrestling in the other countries, we talked about this a little bit with Jimmy, that they train and don't compete. It's like learning a system. It's like, we are going to learn how to do every single possible and really enjoy the process. And it's not about all the competing, loving the sport at a different level, in a different world. I was always wondering if there are some countries out there that are doing kind of what we're doing, but
there's not. And I think part of it's the same. The economy is probably not there. Now, I will say if a guy, one of our athletes, and we've had some, they go over and they wrestle at the Urigan in Russia, and when they can win some money. I think there's a couple events. I think there is an Indian wrestling league, a pro wrestling league in India that some athletes could probably take advantage of, but the money's probably not the same. And that's about it. Now, we start talking about, my head's spinning. Another thing I want to talk about wrestling that I watched this weekend, we'll hit on later. But,
okay.
But you get a guy like Jordan Burroughs goes and wins the world championships. It's $50,000.
Okay.
So that's kind of been that's from the living the dream medal fund that the USA Wrestling and the US Olympic Committee had put together. And obviously, the Olympic gold medalist, men's, women's, and Greco, if you win an Olympic gold medal, that's $250,000. That will keep you going for a year or two also.
So how about silver and bronze? If they're medalists,
they do get something too, and I just don't remember the numbers. But yep, all the medals will get paid. So anyway, so we go back, and now Flo put together this event, and it was last Friday night. They brought everybody to Austin, Texas. The 8 that were there one was Bajrang Punia, who is out of India. Really a fun guy to watch wrestle. Actually, he is actually training at the Cliff Clean Wrestling Club I think it's, when he got here, it's like a month, right? Okay, now, there's some talk about him sticking around a little while, which would be a great opportunity for, those Cliff Keen wrestlers, which includes the Tanafus starting next year.
Right.
Alec Pantaleo, who's also a Cliff Keen guy, Michigan guy. Anthony Ashnault, Rutgers national champion. James Green wrestled at the University of Nebraska and now is training out of the Southeast Regional Training Center at Virginia Tech. Who else was? Jordan Oliver. Jordan Oliver, who was my pick to make the finals, and Bryce Meredith. Oh, and Pat Lugo.
Yep.
So Pat Lugo from Iowa, Bryce Meredith from Wyoming, who's been wrestling absolutely everywhere during the pandemic. He's had a season like a Class B kid. So there's been so that was kind of fun. They actually seeded it. If we broke it down, I think the first round, Bajrang wrestled Pat Lugo. Yep. Pat Lugo is kind of a tough matchup for everybody. Nobody's gonna blow him out because he's gonna keep it tight.
No, he kept it tight for a while, and
he's powerful. He's strong. He keeps good position. But Bajrang came out on top of that. Let's see.
Well, your man lost right away in the first round, Oliver.
Jordan Oliver wrestled Alec Pantaleo.
Yep.
Pantaleo looked good, and it was really funny. It was interesting because Jordan Oliver's a motion guy, right? He's got a lot of motion going side to side, back and forth. And Pantaleo kept really great position, bit on every fake, and I think that was on purpose, right? Because once if you go to your knee every time a guy fakes, he can't shoot. So Pantaleo had a great game plan, and he won the match. I mean, that was I still I'm still a big Oliver fan. I think when it comes to the Olympic trials, I think he's going to be one of the three guys or so in the mix.
Mm-hmm. Well, how about Meredith? What happened there?
So yeah, he had a bad draw. Well,
Green and Meredith.
Let me put it this way: 2 weeks ago, Bryce Meredith is wrestling Seth Gross. Seth Gross is a 57 kilogram guy. It was bigger. They weighed more than that, but they probably wrestled at 140 pounds or something like that. Mm-hmm. And Seth won. I mean, Meredith is good, but it was a good match. Well, James Green is a giant, so he was way bigger, stronger, faster. Was a little bit of a goofed up deal because I don't know that they had the score right, to be honest with you. Okay. And Meredith wasn't. He was kind of questioning it, mm-hmm. and nobody threw a brick, but the ref blew the whistle, and Green just blasted him, put him to his back, and it was a 4-point move when the match was over. But it was. I don't think he's winning the match if that doesn't happen. That was right. Not a great matchup for Bryce Meredith, but. I'm glad he was there. I think he's fun to watch wrestle. Hopefully he sticks around for a while. He's kind of had some talk about going the MMA route.
Right. I thought that basically size wise, I thought he was probably. I thought maybe he got a bad draw on the seed wise.
Right. Yeah. I think it was bad.
I thought he could have been one that first round got into the semis maybe if he'd have been in a different place. But and Green looked tough there. Strong.
And then let's see. Anthony Ashnault wrestled. Evan Henderson. I forgot to mention him. Evan Henderson is wrestling out of the Spartan Combat RTC up at Cornell. Has looked really good during this pandemic too. He's had a handful of matches. He's looked really good. He wrestled Anthony Ashnault 6-6. I think it was a 6-6 criteria win. So it was a good match. I mean, Ashnault's good, and Evan Henderson looks better now than he ever did in college or mm-hmm. any other time to his senior level career. I think he's going to be. I'm not saying he'll be in the top 3 probably at this weight class. He'll be a 65 kilogram guy, but he'll be. He's going to be competitive. He's going to give some people some troubles. He's got he's been a pretty good defender. He's developed a pretty good takedown. He's a little bit tricky. So that was kind of the first round. I think that hit everybody.
Yep.
Semifinals. So that put Punya against Ashnault. I thought Bajrang really looked good there. That was his best match of the day. He really showed a lot of stuff that he does. He's you can get to his legs, but then I think he's one of those guys that you think you got his leg, but he thinks he has your arms, right?
Now, is he going to be India qualified for the Olympics?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and he is not. He's not a big. I mean, at 150 pounds, he's a small 150. He's not a big 150 pound guy. He'll be a pretty good 65 kilogram guy, which is like 143.
Right.
But he definitely. Ashnault looked bigger. Of course, Ashnault was a national champion at 149 pounds 2 or 3 years ago. So,
but he shut him out. Looked real good in that match.
Yeah. Bajrang looked great. James Green wrestled Pantaleo. Pretty good match. 4-2, competitive, but I think it's the same way. I think Pantaleo, I guess, is it's kind of the same story. He's going to keep him pretty tight. He keeps good position. He's really, really strong. I don't know how he's going to wrestle at 143 pounds. I just and James Green says he's going to 65 kilograms too. And I think they're both just too big, but they're just real tweeners. I think these are two guys that are going to be 70 kilogram guys for quite a while in the off Olympic.
Right. And the Olympic trials are when and where? That's not that.
They're April. I don't know exactly the date. I want to say it would be the first or second weekend in April. And they will be in State College, I would guess. That's where they were supposed to be. Yep. Then the finals that put Bajrang Punia versus James Green in the finals. James Green actually got 2 takedowns, but Bajrang came out on top 8-4. Never really, I shouldn't say never seemed like it was. I kind of always felt that's how it was going to end up, but Green had 2 nice takedowns. It kind of seemed like maybe he had something timed and was able to score. I think Bajrang hit a nice 4-point move from a front headlock, and 2 other times he got in that front headlock again, and you could just, I don't know if that first one kind of had Green frozen a little bit, like I don't know which way to go here because he's going to come back or something.
Looked like he was in trouble.
Yeah, and you don't see that happen a whole lot to James Green, so that was kind of interesting. But Punia looked good. It was fun to watch. He's really fun to watch wrestle. It's interesting, because and Shuey kind of talked about this a little bit a couple weeks ago. Even the way the Russians are, he comes out and he's real relaxed, right? He's like, hey, hey, real nice, and then you get out there and you just don't know what's coming, and we always see a lot of in the Americans it's tense right from the start, right? The stare downs across the mat and everything's just all pressure and so it's kind of fun watching them wrestle. So that was, but he came out on top, $25,000. I think James Green was second. I think he probably got maybe 20 or 15,000. So they did actually wrestle up to a
couple girls
to a third place match, and Pantaleo took third. So it was good. It was fun. It was good wrestling. It started at like 7:00 and was done by 9 or 9:30. They did have two women's matches.
Yep.
They were good. One Jakara Winchester looked awesome. I actually thought she might have been the best wrestler of the night. I mean, she won 10-0 in the first period. So it was good. It was a lot of fun to be able to watch. I feel like, once again, I said before, I think we're living in a time like we've never seen before, where you can see more wrestling today than we've ever been able to see before, and it's only going to get better. So that part is awesome. I'll just roll right in, I guess, a little bit. Going on last weekend, about that same, starting maybe Thursday or Friday, there was no World Championships this year because they didn't have enough teams that were going to go. They were going to have World Championships in Serbia this weekend, and United States said, we're not coming. Iran said, we're not coming. France, Britain, a number of companies, Cuba they're not coming. But what they did instead is they said, we'll call it a individual World Cup. Anybody wants to come, anybody that can come. So it was this weekend, and I did watch some of that. I watched the finals on Was it Sunday?
Okay.
Sunday, must have been Sunday. And that was, there was, Russia had, I don't know, eight gold medalists, I think, or something out of 10, maybe 9. I think 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
So they're really good. And in most cases, they're probably wrestling, another Russian that's wrestling for another company or country. Mm-hmm. So it was fun. But yeah, that was fun to watch.
Well, that's the biggest thing I wanted to talk to Andy about was the time in Russia. And that was, he spent the whole year there. So we have him on in the future. I think that'll make a big difference.
Well, one thing that's really interesting, we'll talk about this, I'm sure, sometime down the road, but if most of the wrestlers that come out of Russia are from one, let's call it a state. It's a region, right? It's a small area called Ossetia.
Okay.
And a lot of times they will go to a practice there, and these guys are maybe the people that are practicing there. There'll be the Russian team member, be 3 guys that are on the Russian ladder, and someone from Georgia, and someone from Azerbaijan, and someone from Spain, and someone from, all over the place, but they're all from Ossetia. Wow. And then they've moved on and they live in another country, and they end up, representing another country, but they're from, this town, this area, this mountainous region of Ossetia that are, and it's really, I really want to talk to Andy about that, because that's kind of the area he spent his time in. And, where's this come from? Why? And I think a lot of it is just hard living, as part of it. It's the old, the old farm kid we used to all have to wrestle and they'd be stronger than everybody else, but I think that there's a lot of that there, and that's the way they're out. That's their way out.
Yep.
Probably my favorite wrestler out of that region right now is the best wrestler in the world is Sadulayev, who's a 97 kilogram guy. And he was in the finals, but he ended up winning by forfeit. The guy got hurt in the semis or something. He got hurt in the semis, but so I sat there just waiting for that match, and then he walked out. But I think he scored. I think they said he scored 33 points in his matches coming up to that match. So this is a guy that Kyle Snyder has beaten one time, but he's also, I think he's probably about 1-3 or 4 against Sadulayev, and in their last match he pinned him. So
wow,
he's good. He's really good, and he's a big guy, right? So that's one that I'd really like to see a Sadulayev. Well, Snyder again would be great. We don't know who we're going to have at that. I assume it'll be either Snyder or Jane Cox, but I would like to see a Sadulayev Jane Cox match. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Well, I tell you, when we get closer to that, we'll have to put up brackets, you and I, a little bit for the Olympic stuff, and start making some predictions as it gets a little closer.
Yeah. So that was fun to watch. I'm glad it was. I was able to see that. Just so everybody knows, in the future, Flow Wrestling also did sign an agreement with the UWW. That's the wrestling organization, Worldwide Wrestling Organization, to be showing the World Championship stuff in the future. So it'd be a little bit easier for most people to watch. It was lucky enough this weekend. It was actually on TV, so I would catch it. But and you could find it on the computer or something too. But so that was good. It was fun. Then Tuesday night, another one of these events like we talked about. Nittany Lion Wrestling Club held an event. They had they must have had about 10 or 12 prelim matches, and then they had a handful of main card matches. I don't have them all in front of me, but I can tell you that a couple ones that stood out. Kyle Snyder did wrestle, which was good to see, because he wrestled at where did he wrestle? World Team Trials? Wasn't the World Team Trials. It was the U.S. Open back in September, or whenever they had that in Austin, and he was wrestling Kyvan Gatson and got hurt. So that was a little bit scary, but he was back, looked really good. Wrestled Ty Walls, Tech followed him, looked really good. He huge though. I mean, he has not stopped in the weight room. He looks really big, but he moves good. And then let's see, Brady Berge, Minnesota kid, wrestled. Was out all last year with concussions. He wrestled Hayden Hidley from NC State. Hidley came out on top of that one. I think 62, if I remember right. Good match. Hidley's the class of that weight class, probably going into this season. But it looked good. Berge looked pretty good. I mean, I could see him being on the podium this year in the NCAAs. Who else wrestled? Nick Lee and Tariq Wilson. That was fun. Tariq took third as a freshman at 133 pounds. He's bigger now. He's about 7 feet tall. And he made that match competitive. Maybe it was 14-10 or something like that. But it was a good match. It was fun to watch. It's exciting. It would just look like Nick Lee was going to start pulling away, and then Tariq could get a takedown and a turn, or that was a good match to watch. A couple good women's matches again. Let's see and then they had a co-main event. One was Roman Bravo Young, and I don't remember the guy's name. What the heck? He wrestled a UFC guy.
Oh, okay.
And I wonder if I can come up. It doesn't matter. Somebody else probably knows who he is, and I didn't know him before. But it was actually a pretty good match. And then they wrestled the 6-minute freestyle match, and then they wrestled a 3-minute jiu-jitsu submission match. And Roman Bravo won the freestyle match, but it was 6-4. The MMA guy did hit a lateral drop, beautiful lat drop for 4. And then Roman Bravo Young came back and picked him apart a little bit, but and then the submission match went the other way around about how you would. So that was kind of fun. And then their final event of the night, our final match of the night, was Bajrang Punia, who we were just talking about, who looked great at the
150
8-man bracket. Wrestled Zane Rutherford, 3-time national champ, 2-time Hodge winner, probably should have been 3-time Hodge winner. And they have wrestled before. Bajrang's won in the past, and Zane wins the match 6-0. Mm-hmm. So he looked really good. We were talking earlier. I don't know that I would pick it to go that way again. But I'm a Zane fan, so
right. We'll take it.
You have to believe that Bajrang wrestling 3 matches on Saturday night in Austin, Texas, and then wrestling, another really tough guy that didn't wrestle on Saturday night on Tuesday probably is not seeing the best version of Bajrang, but it was good. It was fun to see. It sets up some pretty interesting stuff, I think, for the world team, their Olympic trials. We're going to have Zane will be in that weight class, Yanni Diakomalis, all the other guys we just talked about in the 150-pound bracket. And probably somebody else, but I think it's going to come down to Zane, Yanni, and Jordan Oliver. I think that's what it come down to. So now we got to talk about, getting a medal at that weight class, because we have not medaled at 65 kilograms forever. I mean,
2008, didn't we? In 2008 medal?
Oh,
because that would.
Mike Zadek would have been, who is now the world team coach, is the last time we medaled at that weight class at 2000.
Because it was. I was thinking Doug Schwab, but
no, it was Zadek.
He didn't.
I bet it was before that. Gosh, I don't know. It's been a long time. It's been a long time.
Okay.
Any Olympics or World Championships, not just the Olympics, but just even World Championships.
Because I was thinking of that 2008 team. I was researching to try to remember, if Ben Askren and all those guys in that year. You had, let me think. You had Henry in there.
2006.
Oh, okay, 2006.
Yep, 2006. Mike Zadek got a silver, and at that,
okay,
it wasn't 60. It wasn't 65, but it was that because they've changed the weights a little bit. But
well, yeah, I was 63 or whatever.
That kind of weight class. But yeah, so it's been a long time. So we are in need of, and that doesn't mean we haven't had good guys there. We had Brent Metcalf's there. We had, we've had a lot of good guys, but we just have not been able to get. We've had Zane there. We've had a few others. So I'm hoping that this crop of guys can get that done. So that's kind of what's been happening on the senior circuit, I guess. If we've been pretty lucky. I'll go back again. If people are looking for a way to follow that stuff, Flow Wrestling would be, one option. Rockfin.com is another option.
Yep.
I'll just throw this out. The way Rockfin works is someone has a Rockfin account as a creator. So let's just say Andy Wrestle. He's got a Rockfin account. If I'm going to sign up and I say, okay, I want to follow what Andy Wrestle does, it costs me $10 a month, and he gets they get a piece of that, whatever it is, and then, but it opens up the whole platform to me, so I can watch. I can watch the Wisconsin guys wrestle when they have their events. I can watch the Nittany Lion guys wrestle. So if I want to go and watch Kyle and you could follow Nittany Lion, or you could follow, the Wisconsin RTC. So it gives an opportunity to see a lot of wrestling content, a lot of stuff you can read, a lot of video, there's some good training video, I think, out there still.
Well, more and more wrestling's going on there.
James Green's got a new account there, so there's a lot of neat stuff. So those are some good options, and then Track Wrestling will have some stuff too.
Sure.
The Iowa or the Hawkeye Wrestling Club, they did theirs on track, so that comes right in. We're not very far away from a real actual college season.
Mm-hmm.
I think the first college wrestling we're going to see in the area is NDSU. January 3rd, it's a Sunday, has a quadrangular. NDSU, SDSU, Missouri,
yep,
and Oregon State. So get to the shack, I would assume, is where it'll be, and be able to see some really good wrestling there. Mizzou's going to be really good. South Dakota State is really been coming along strong. NDSU will be, a number of our homegrown guys there from North Dakota and Montana. And then Oregon State with the brand new head coach there.
Have you heard? Can you get in as a fan?
I don't know yet, but I would.
I'm gonna have to check into that.
Yep, I don't know yet. We'll have to.
Because I would drive from McCook to Fargo after the McCook is over for Saturday and go straight to Fargo.
I'm hoping we can, and it is going to be on Beck. So.
Yep, I knew that.
Maybe not all of the matches. It looks like the NDSU matches will be on Beck, not the South Dakota State will wrestle Missouri. South Dakota State will wrestle Oregon State, and NDSU will wrestle Oregon State and Missouri. NDSU will not wrestle South Dakota State that weekend, but they're going to wrestle them like 3 days later. So
maybe I'll have to get a hold of Jordan, who we had on just the last time, and get my way in as a broadcaster with him.
Yeah, Jordan, if you're watching, I'm available if you need me sometime.
Oh yeah, might need a couple guys to come with you, Jordan. Bodyguards.
And NDSU is going to wrestle Fresno State. Troy Steiner's team. I haven't heard anything lately about how that fight's going, but I know they had a big fundraiser for Fresno State on online, I guess, a couple nights ago. Watched a little bit of that, so that was good to see. But hopefully they can get something together to keep that program rolling.
No doubt. No, I'd asked Nate Hooman to join us while we had this, and he just got back to me. He was saying he missed my text to him, but he said he was watching Lincoln McElravy videos on YouTube. So he was busy with wrestling, either way you look at it. But he's another guy I love hearing, because he's in depth with what's happening, internationally in college. So Nate, next time we'll get you on too for this stuff.
Yep. Gotta love it, Nate. That's tough to beat watching McElravy videos.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's kind of what I've seen.
Well, then what's happening with Northern? What's their schedule now?
Their first duel is January 7th. That will be, I think, every team in the NSIC will have their first duel on January 7th. There may be some. I know when they first made that schedule, there was a little bit of talk like, well, we'll say it's January 7th. That's a Thursday, but maybe it'll work better to do it on a Saturday.
Right.
They're only doing one duel a week. They're having 6 duels. Northern on January 7th will be going to Fayette, Iowa to wrestle Upper Iowa. That's our friend Jim Makovsky. They're going to be wrestling at Minot, and St. Cloud will be wrestling at Mary.
Okay.
So, I should check. MSUM obviously will be wrestling that day too, and we better find out.
Good idea.
Who they are wrestling to. I will find out because I should know that off the top of my head, but I don't remember. I see that MSUM did have a couple of guys wrestle. A number of different rankings have come out, but the most recent were the coaches' rankings. So those are a pretty good set of rankings. And Mason Schultz was ranked number 12 at 149 pounds. And is he at 149? 149.
You're right.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Cole Jones was ranked at 133. So that was and Jordan Will was ranked for Minot. I think he was at heavyweight, obviously. So
right.
Bishop Ryan product. Moorhead wrestles at Moorhead against Southwest Minnesota State. So on January 7th. So those will be the local matches going on. Well, that's kind of what's going on, I think, in the NSIC and Division 2 in the area. Go ahead.
In Division 2, who would be the top team right now?
St. Cloud.
St. Cloud still. Who would be the other closest ones to them? How about Nebraska Kearney? How about any of those teams?
Kearney will be up there in the top handful. They've got a couple top ranked guys. At Johnstown's really good. Let's see who else. I wonder. I could actually look at see what the coaches, how the coaches ranked them. Now that I think about it, let's see.
Lindenwood has a couple guys ranked. When last I looked, but they could probably be in the mix.
Now that's Division 1. Here it is, Division 2.
Well, that Huber was ranked for Mary, I think, if I remember right.
Okay.
57.
Kearney's ranked. Kearney's ranked 2. Central Oklahoma is 3. Lindenwood's 4. McKendree is 5. West Liberty, Gannon, Tiffin. So then it gets down a little ways after that. Mankato's 13. Upper Iowa's 21. Parkside, which is a new NSIC school, is 22.
Okay.
And Moorhead is 25. So that's kind of rounds out your top 25. So that's where they ended up there. I see we had a question here. How is Williston, North Dakota, as a high school wrestling team in North Dakota? John?
Well, it's a good question. Here's what's interesting. Williston has been, all the oil brought a lot of people into the town, and they had some younger wrestlers, but they haven't had a solid, how could you say, base to keep going year after year out in, because they move in and move out. So the numbers haven't been bad. Their kids, they probably have about a half a dozen wrestlers in Class A in the West that will do really well. But Williston still, I would say, probably ranked about 6th in the West. I've kind of watched. I don't know if the Krebs is. I didn't see his name in the duel last time. I wanted to see where he's at. Other than that, I know that the Inside Wrestling and a couple other ones he mentions: Adams State, Colorado Mesa, Colorado School of Mines.
Oh yeah, Division 2 schools. Yep. All good. They're all good programs. Hey, Ed Malone just corrected me there, and he is correct. Cole Jones is at 125, Mason's at 141, but Ortloff is at 165, and I did not mention him. He's ranked. He has him at 157. He did move up from 57 to 65 last year, and they have him ranked at 165 now, I believe. So,
Northern anybody ranked? Was that Palisade? Was anybody ranked?
Yep. Marcus was ranked, and I don't remember 10th or 11th, maybe.
Okay.
I think he may have been the only one. I think. I don't remember I don't think anybody else was. Actually, very possibly the 133 pounder was too.
Okay.
I should probably know that, but it's preseason rankings. We got a long ways to go. So
yeah, we got to get some wrestling in.
Let's match up with someone and see how it all shakes out. But,
that Dane Morton. Yep, he's ranked 8th at 33. It says.
Yep. Dane's good, tough, hard-nosed kid out of Minnesota. That's really done a good job. Actually, he wrestled at UWW Juniors and looked great. He looked. I think he won 5 matches or something. So, he looked good. It was fun to watch. He looked like he always does. Just kind of always going forward and shooting and he gets his hand to a leg and he can score. So yeah. Oh, it'll be. There was a few things that I've watched. A few of these teams have had some inter squad duels, some wrestle offs. I saw Mary's. I watched St. Cloud's. Mary's had me a little bit perplexed. I didn't see either of the Springsteens in the lineup, so I was kind of curious about that. But I guess we'll wait to see when they come out in the first duel and see how the lineup shakes out. But those are probably two of their tougher kids.
Well, Inside Colorado Wrestling, I tell you what, I'm glad you're on because if you want to come on sometime, if you got some information, I'd always like to hear what's happening with the trustees, Monty Trustee, and all the guys in Colorado. You probably know what's going on. Really happy to see you on because I tell you what, I love any information out there. He's got another one that says that Williston picked up 106 pounder. It was a state finalist kid at 106. Well, I don't know if he's at 106 now, but I tell you what, if he's up at that 13, 20, you never know. He's going to get some good competition. He's a finalist in Colorado. It's good for Williston. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's really good.
And love to hear the name. If nothing else, Williston did wrestle Dickinson, but I didn't see any amazing scores. I'll have to look up. I kind of knew most of the names. I could go back to track almost real quick, but we're almost at the hour point. Let me go Williston, Dickens, Watford City. That is right there. Take a quick peek at the Williston. I got it right on track, so it only takes me a second here. Here's the Williston, Watford City, Williston. There it is. It was Dickinson had beat Williston 44 to 27. So I wonder if it's, let's see, Williston. There's a Wyatt Hansen, but there's Hansons from Williston originally. Trying to see. There's a Caleb Minton. I didn't know that name, but that's at 45 for Williston. He beat a Logan Cambridge. But other than that, I pretty much noticed most of the other names.
He'll be going 106 or 113, and maybe he hasn't. Maybe he just got there too.
Yep, that's possible too. But that would be interesting information. I'd love to hear it. It says it would be 106 or 113. He's probably still just getting in the mix with what's happening with the school in North Dakota. If you even move into a location, it's usually you don't have to sit out very long. I don't know what this. I'd have to look at the High School Activities Association rules again are, but it might be a 2-week. It might be 14 days until they establish what location they're in. They figure out the home and they're in the district or whatever, and then they become eligible. But
right, yep.
That could be interesting because I tell you what, the state always needs more good wrestling.
Good. I'm looking forward to seeing them.
Awesome. Well, I don't know. My last words are I'm going to be out there watching wrestling. I want everybody to have a great Christmas out there, great New Year's. Stay healthy and safe. Don't go out on some thin ice yet. We're not quite thick enough in some places, maybe on the small lakes, but if you're going to go ice fishing, I tell you what, I did a lot of that when I was in high school and in college over the winter, had a break, but we had some pretty cold winters back then. And the ice was a couple of feet thick. It was a good workout to drill all the holes and not bring the electric ice auger out there. It's a way to burn a few extra calories. But no, it's definitely we'll stay in touch with you guys. We'll be on in another week. I do have Terry Pack. I'm going to be on in the very near future. He had opened up a new Legends of Gold training center in Las Vegas. So I don't know if he's going to travel back and forth. He's going to have 2 locations, but I'm going to have him on in the near future. I'd like to talk to him one-on-one and find out some more information there. Also in the mix of let's get on a Milo Trusty. That could be interesting. And then I've got several other coaches I want to get on and just update people. And if we need to go when the season gets closer to state, maybe we will have to hop on a couple times a week. We've been pretty solid just going Wednesdays, but we could probably cut them down and have them a little shorter than an hour or two if we went 2 times a week and went a half hour or 45 minutes. Kind of clear everything up as we get more results, go over rankings and how kids are doing around the state. Bill, any last words?
Hey, one thing I obviously want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a real safe week here, and if you're on the road, be careful and all that. But one thing I guess I just want to say is I want to thank all of these frontline healthcare workers that have been battling this pandemic for I don't know, 8 months or 10 months or whatever it's been now, and I know that a lot of those people have really been worn out, and hopefully they're getting a little bit of a reprieve today, and we just appreciate what they've done, and it's been tough in these small communities. It's really tough in the bigger communities. These nurses and doctors I know are getting worn thin. Hopefully this vaccine will help a little bit. Our local numbers are definitely subsiding a little bit, but my heart goes out to a lot of those, and we got a lot of them in our family, of course, that are working in those situations. So I just want to spend a little time. Just thank you. We couldn't do it without you. So that's one thing I want to say. And then besides that, it's just be thankful we got some wrestling to watch, and have a nice Christmas, and we'll get back at this here one more time before the new year, maybe, and then we're off into 2021.
Well, awesome. I tell you what, Bill, I appreciate everything you do for the sport, and so well said. I totally agree with everything out there. I just want to thank everybody. Be thankful that we have a place to breathe and to watch wrestling, and we're still here on a day-to-day basis, guaranteed. Well, guys, again, John Gums, Dakota Grappler, you guys have a great weekend, and we will catch you again either by the wrestling mat or here on Dakota.